around Red Sox Twitter land, there's always a different kind of energy, right? It's either everyone's extremely positive, everyone's extremely excited one day, and then the next day, you just feel sad. You feel down. You feel like, man, what is even going on with this team? It's so interesting this offseason. Last offseason, though, every single day was terrible. It was an awful offseason, right? You had some days of hope for the most part, but really, for the most part, it was a down offseason last year. This year, it's been more exciting on some days and then just the complete opposite on other days. Today, I felt like was more of a pessimistic day. Taking a look here today at Craig's comments, I'm going to go to Tyler Milliken's page here because he always lays out everything so nicely. I mean, look at the little baseballs. I mean, come on, look at that. But he says here, the main notes from all of what Craig had to say for today. The big one was, there are a few big ones in here, right? Each one has its own emphasis, right? First thing, focuses on balancing the lineup, probably looking to add to the bullpen as well. He did mention Tristan Casas and the trade rumors. I'll dive into that as well. Still no meeting with Roki Sasaki. Patrick Sandoval, he did touch on that, should be back in the second half. You're going to have a lot of depth at that point, man. Patrick Sandoval, when he comes back, that's going to be very nice. There's been also talks of a 6-man rotation. I'll dive into that as well. I'll give you my thoughts on that. I talked about Liam Hendricks, Masataka Yoshida, but everyone was really focused today on kind of the Alex Bregman stuff, right? There was also this today from Robert Murray. He went on the Baseball Insiders podcast today. They do a great job over there. He said here, the biggest one for us that we could take away from is Alex Bregman to the Red Sox is not the most likely scenario in the world. Kind of from what I'm, listen, the offseason, I love the season, obviously. I love the regular season, postseason when that happens, but I love the offseason. I've tracked off seasons for years now. Rumors, different words that guys are saying out there, right? Different general managers speak and whatnot. But I feel like, there's also over the years you learn there's a certain feeling in the air, right? There's nothing really that you can point to that necessarily says that, but you start reading the tea leaves and you start to get an idea of something happening or not happening, right? When it comes to the Alex Bregman stuff, right, when Correa brought that up at the winter meetings, right, making great comments about Bregman, saying how he thinks he can thrive as a middle infielder, being a second baseman with the Red Sox, right, we all started to really get some hope there, like, ooh, oh, okay. All right. Alex Bregman. All right. Let's do this thing. Okay. I think the majority of people like the idea. There's a few out there that don't like it. I personally think it's a great idea. But I feel like when you start taking a look at, things being said out there, right? There was an article from Evan Petzold of the Detroit Free Press talking about the Alex Bregman sweepstakes. And he really just said point blank, right, the Tigers are basically all in on Alex Bregman, right? Goes on to say here, the Tigers have strong interest in Alex Bregman. In fact, the Tigers appear to be all in on Bregman. Both sides are engaged in ongoing discussions with mutual interest. That's a key word right there, mutual interest. All right, the fact that he's hearing that from someone there, I think that says a lot because at the end of the day, right, the player has to want to go somewhere. I know we always like to say on Twitter land, why don't we sign this guy? Why don't they go get this guy? Listen, you got to think about the player too. Well, money talks. Well, maybe not all the time. Corbin Burns, he took less money to go to the Diamondbacks so he could be at home. Everyone has a different situation. This is not MLB The Show, right? We got to stop thinking that way. Sometimes, the player, hey, it's fair for them to have a thought too, okay? But the mutual interest. However, he does say there has been a gap in value with the talks there. So, if you're reading tea leaves here, you're seeing other reports coming out of Detroit. You're seeing Robert Murray say some things. You're kind of listening to what Craig Breslow had to say here today. He was on a lot of different media outlets today. I would love to be able to get 10 minutes with Craig Breslow. If I could get 10 minutes, man, I would love that. Maybe one day. Maybe we can do that one day. That would be amazing. But he pretty much said, point blank, Craig, he's very good at the public relations. I see people say this a lot. He says a lot without really saying all that much. Those guys are masters at public relations, right? Whether you like it or not. He does say a lot without giving you really a straightforward answer. It is what it is. But he did say today, they are looking to basically improve the team the best he can, right? So that kind of tells me when you make comments like that, yes, you are looking to make moves, but that also tells me something in the back of his head is also saying that maybe the big ones that we were looking forward to maybe happening probably aren't happening. Because I think about that key phrase that he said, the best we can. That kind of makes me think, combined with the other reports that we're getting, maybe Alex Bregman might not be happening. I don't know. Things can change. It's the offseason at the end of the day. Things are fluid. Talks can break down. Talks can pick back up. You never know. And then we also go back to what Jared said the other day, right? Jared Carabas on the Section 10 podcast, right? He basically was talking, in hypotheticals, but it kind of made it sound like, he wanted to just tell us something without saying point blank, this is a fact, kind of hinting that maybe the Red Sox haven't even made an offer yet. So would we be surprised about that? I don't think we would. Because it really comes down to, maybe the Red Sox did have some strong interest at one point in time. Correa saying, hey, let's go get this guy. There's a bit of a divide in the front office. Remember, we got that report as well. That's another tea leaf, right? That's another thing to add to this, to where Bregman, it's starting to feel like wishful thinking at this point. At one point, it did feel maybe a little bit real. But then all of a sudden, it just doesn't. Now, Craig did talk today to Rob Bradford, and Rob Bradford point blank said, hey, Alex Bregman, what's the deal there? And of course, Craig, they cannot talk about specific pursuits of players. You just can't do that. He basically said to Rob Bradford today, yeah, we can't talk about that, but, we would like to add someone that can hit well at Fenway Park. And when you take a look at Alex Bregman at Fenway Park, he has always hit well there in his career. I think the way he goes about his offense, it's perfect for Fenway Park. He's, to my opinion, if he came to Boston, he would be a wall ball machine with pop. I think he would be a great player in Boston, but in the end, it's just a matter of, does Craig want to pay him? And, the fact that we're getting these comments from the Detroit Free Press saying the Tigers appear to be all in, I don't know, man. I just think for the Red Sox at this point, I think you can look at these two situations as well, where you look at the Tigers situation, right? Yes, I know. I get it. The Red Sox are the Red Sox, big market team, Well, Jill, I disagree with that, Jill. Bregman hit well because the pitching hasn't been very good. I disagree with that because, you're going to have that anywhere you go, right? There's going to be bad pitching wherever you go, good pitching wherever you go. And Bregman, guys are going to have, good stats some places, bad stats some places, right? I think Bregman fits Fenway Park very well. Sure, maybe some pitching can come into play there, but that goes everywhere, right? You're gonna run into bad pitching wherever you go. So I don't agree with that necessarily, but I understand the point though. Getting back to this, where was I? I just completely lost my train of thought. Well, this stinks. I just lost my thought. Great. When it comes to Bregman, the Red Sox and the Tigers. You look at the two situations, right? You look at where they're at competitively. The Red Sox, yes, big market team, but they haven't made the postseason since 2021. Yes, you can say what you will about ownership. You can say what you will about the moves they've made, whatever it may be. In the end, the Red Sox haven't been in the postseason, right? The Tigers, on the other hand, have just made the division series this past year, topped the Astros in the wild card round, right? The Tigers right now are farther along than the Red Sox are. Maybe the Red Sox have, they got some beef waiting in that farm system, waiting to erupt. has not erupted yet. The Tigers are in a better position at this point to make a play for Alex Bregman. This is the perfect time to make a move, right? When you are when you are now in a competitive window. The Tigers just showed this past year we can do some things. Did they get to the promised land? No. But they got their foot in the door. They got their foot in the door. They got a lot of young talent there that's cheap, under club control. This is when you spend, especially when you have the payroll flexibility. I mean, they got really nothing on that payroll. They got Javier Baez, yeah, they'll have to figure out an extension with Skubal if that's the route they want to go. But they have a lot of money they can play with. And Bregman, I mean, financially, it makes a lot of sense. This is what the Red Sox want to do, I think, personally. I think the Red Sox want to be in a place where once they got those guys up, Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, Marcelo Meyer even, maybe some other guys. Once they're up and ready, along with some other guys already at the major league level, like Casas, like Willie Abreu, like Duran, that's when you go spend. But I think the one thing the Red Sox need to show first is making the postseason. I think once you're there, that's when I think the script can flip. So this is where I'm thinking here. I've been kind of reflecting on this the last couple of days. I don't know, man. I'm kind of thinking next offseason is going to be it. I know I had high hopes coming into this offseason. I did. And I did expect them to make moves. I did expect them to go do some, productive things out there. And they have. At the end of the day, they have. Yes, you want them to spend the money. But, again, the Tigers are the perfect example of when you go and spend money. At least that's what a lot of organizations are trying to get towards, right? Yes, the Dodgers, of course, right? You got to think from the Dodgers' point of view. They got a lot of guys under control there as well, right? Yes, they're spending a boatload. But, the Dodgers have put themselves in this position because of good, obviously making money over the years, good player development, right? Obviously winning, So the Dodgers, yeah, they can go out there and go do all this, right? But the Tigers are a great example. And I think that's where the Red Sox are looking to get first, right? They need to get back to that competitive window. And when I mean competitive window, I mean actually winning a wild card spot, right? Yes, you can compete for a wild card, which the Red Sox, they've been in it until basically, the beginning of September the last couple of years. But they got to get there first. So I think Bregman, I don't know. I feel like it might be just too little, just a bit too soon. That's the vibe that I'm getting, That's what I'm getting here. And, seeing Breslow today kind of make these comments when it came to adding a right-handed hitter. Yeah, it was that one key line, that one line where he said, the best we can. And I feel like there's a limit, and I don't think they're looking to break it. And they have been very stubborn up to this point. They have been holding on too much at this point to break. They're not going to break at this point. Maybe something happens, but I think with just the way the Tigers are right now, the fact that you see these words, these phrases like all in, I don't know, man. I think eventually they're going to get something done. That's just my opinion. I would start buckling up to see that announcement at some point that Bregman is probably going to be a Detroit Tiger. I don't think he's going to be a Met. I think the Mets they're going to figure out a way to bring Pete Alonso back. I don't see the Mets, not figuring out something with Pete Alonso and then spending more on Alex Bregman. I don't see that happening. I mean, the only other team it's really the Tigers. I mean, the Tigers have this just completely open lane to get Bregman at this point. So those are my thoughts on that. But kind of getting to the other things that he talked about, probably looking to add to the bullpen. And we'll get back to the lineup here in just a second. But he says here, probably looking to add to the bullpen. Doesn't sound like anything crazy. I could see them making a low-key kind of a move. Do I expect them to go out and get Jeff Hoffman? I would love Jeff Hoffman. I would. That would be great. I don't see Tanner Scott at this point because He's going to be expensive, first off. So will Jeff Hoffman. The difference with Tanner Scott, right? You got a lefty there. You already brought in Chapman. I feel like Tanner Scott's probably not going to happen. Jeff Hoffman, though, if you were to look for another righty high leverage guy to put in the back end of the bullpen, I really would like that. There has been talks about Hoffman maybe being a starter. I feel like that's not going to happen here because you've already added so many guys, right? You got Giolito coming back. Giolito talked today. Was that today or yesterday? I can't remember. He's saying, well, why are all these people saying I'm not going to be in the rotation on opening day? I'm good to go. I'm going to be ready for spring training. So Giolito looking like he is good to go. So you got a lot of starters. So Jeff Hoffman, I don't see him, if he comes to Boston, I don't see him being a starter. But really, I kind of don't, I just don't think the Red Sox are going to go crazy for someone like Jeff Hoffman. I hope I'm wrong, but when I see the word probably, kind of sounds like they have their eyes open, their ears open, and they're just going to wait and see what's out there, look for something cheap, I don't see anything crazy when it comes to the bullpen. Now, let's get to Tristan Casas. Man, Tristan Casas has been in the news, it feels like, every single day, and he did talk about this. Now, let me pull this up. Here it is. So, Craig Breslow said, nothing came remotely close. And here was the full phrase. Here was the full comment. I'm not totally sure where it comes from. This was asked about the Tristan Casas trade rumors. I'm not totally sure where it comes from. We're not shopping Tristan. Pause. Pause right there. Pause. We're not shopping Tristan. I think they're listening, though. I mean, shopping and listening is two different things, right? If you are actively going out there and saying, hey, do you want to trade for this guy? Hey, what do you think about this guy? Hey, he's on the block. We like that guy you got on your team. Will you want to make a deal? That's shopping. Listening, on the other hand, you're not doing that. But if someone calls you and they say, hey, what's the deal with Tristan here? What's going on? Talk to us. Okay, we'll talk. That's listening, right? You're willing to maybe talk about some ideas. You throw some things back and forth. But you're not the one making the phone call. The other teams are making the phone call, right? So that's a key part right there, right? We see him as a guy that can hit in the middle of the lineup for a really long time here in Boston. Do you know what that is right there? That is leverage. That is leverage, ladies and gentlemen. We see him as a guy that can hit in the middle of the lineup for a really long time here. Of course, they're going to sell high on your guy. Just like any, a business out there, whatever, selling, I don't know, microwaves, for crying out loud. Yeah. Oh, these are great microwaves, man. We use the best technology for this. We use the best products to build these microwaves. Oh, these are great. You want to buy these. We see him as a guy that can hit the middle of the lineup for a really long time here in Boston. Well, that sounds great to any team, right? Obviously, plus power, plus strike zone judgment, the ability to get on base, and it's someone that I don't think we've seen the best of. Sounds more selling, if you ask me. Sounds more like you are using some leverage here. You're selling high on your guy, right? You are putting your guy over. You got to show you value that player. If there is a deal to happen at some point, you got to talk highly of that, right? Because you want to keep leverage as high as possible. You don't want to be going out there and saying, oh, yeah, we've been listening. Yeah, we got some other ideas for first base. We don't really see him as our first baseman. As soon as you start saying that, well, then, teams are going to take advantage of that. Oh, it sounds like you want to get rid of him. Okay, this is the most we're going to do. Of course, you're going to say words like these. He obviously missed a number of months during the season. We're really excited for him to be completely healthy. He's had a full, healthy offseason. Listen, here's the thing. I think for the Red Sox, this is a good position to take. Because, yes, you would like to keep that bat. But at the end of the day, the proof's in the pudding. These rumors are not coming from anywhere. Teams have been calling, right? The Mariners were the big one, right? You saw a couple of different things come out about that. Teams are going to be calling here. because yeah, exactly what he's saying here. Teams also see that, so you got to remember that. I do think there have been talks. Do I necessarily think Craig is picking up the phone and trying to get this guy out of Boston? No, I don't see that. I think other teams are calling, though, and I think he's willing to listen. And I think he's willing. Get back to the Masataka Yoshida rumor that happened, right? With the Luis Castillo. Mariners called, said, hey, or I think maybe the Red Sox called first. Hey, Luis Castillo, what's the deal? Yeah, we're trying to move him. We want Tristan Casas. No, we're not going to do that. That's not very fair. A young club-controlled guy with a ton of upside. Sure, he's been banged up in the last couple of years, but that's not good business. We're not going to do Tristan Casas for Luis Castillo. The only way we're going to do that is if you take back the bad contract of Masataka Yoshida. Well, the Mariners aren't going to want that because they're looking to clear payroll so they can go out there and spend money. So, Craig offering that, and I saw a lot of people get grumpy at that. I don't think it was the best idea necessarily to offer Tristan Casas to make up for the negative value of Yoshida. I don't think that's really the best idea, but that really shows how willing he is to part with him. So, even though I don't like the idea, I see the thinking behind it because it would get a bad contract off the payroll and it would create a lot of roster flexibility. Oh, that would create a ton of flexibility if they did that. Yeah, giving up Casas kind of stinks, obviously, but, clearing Yoshida as well, and they're trying to balance out the lineup, that creates a lot of possibilities. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but if you were to look at a bright side of it, that is one. So in the end, do I expect Casas to end up getting moved? Probably not in the end. Unless something really comes across his desk, where you get like another young club-controlled guy back in return. Whatever that may be, something for the lineup, something for the rotation. I think at this point, really the best options, and they're probably gone now, were something with Jared Jones, something with one of the Mariners' young pitchers. That's the way I see Tristan Casas getting moved, and getting a young club-controlled, high upside pitcher. Right? That's the only way I could see that happening. But I don't think that's really going to be on the table. I don't know what other possibilities could be out there. I see you in the chat, negative IQ. Casas for Vlad Jr. That's a tough one. Listen, I like Vlad. I love let me take that back. I love Vlad. Love Vlad. That is an interesting one, right? Because you're looking at it from two different point of views. If the Blue Jays can't extend the guy, well then, and then the Red Sox, they really want right-handed power, then yeah. I could see them being traded, possibly. It depends, though, because it's in division. That's what makes it weird. The only way I see the Blue Jays doing that, if they wave the white flag for 2025. That's the only way, but they got too much talent to wave the flag at this point. You know what I mean? You got Gausman, right? You got Berrios there. You still got, you got Bo Bichette. You have a team where, you would really, if you trade Vlad, you might as well trade Gausman at that point. You might as well trade Berrios at that. Maybe him or Bichette. See you later. Or you got Springer under a massive contract. I just don't see the Blue Jays doing that. Unless. I don't know, man, because I get it. You're getting Casas back. But at the end of the day, I think you'd rather have Vlad. I don't know. That's just me, though. You know what I mean? I guess now that if I'm processing it, yes, they would get Casas back, but it really comes down to what do the Blue Jays even think about that, Because with Casas, at the end of the day, he does need to show that he's healthy, right? That is one thing you got to think about with Casas. Yes, there's a lot of upside with the bat. But I think you would like to see a full healthy season out of the guy, right? Let's see that 30, 40 home run season first, But then again, could it be a risk worth taking if you're the Blue Jays, if you're unable to extend the guy? It's interesting. I've seen a lot of people float that out there. I think for the Red Sox, I wonder. I wonder, man. We got a lot of offseason left, right? It's going to be 2025 here in the next couple of days. You still got a whole month of January. There's still a ton of free agents out there, a ton of trade candidates still out there. There's a lot that could still happen here over the next month. Offseason is always fluid. Let's say maybe they keep trying to extend Vlad. It doesn't happen. Well, then okay. I think they should trade him. That's my opinion. If they cannot extend the guy, you should trade him, right? Like the Padres last year, they realized they weren't going to be able to extend Juan Soto. So you got to trade the guy. Like Vlad, to me, he's going to bring back value. I would rather trade him. If it was me, I would rather trade Vlad now if I know that he's not going to sign the extension. Because at the end of the day, a full season of Vlad Jr. is going to be way better than 2 months. Sure, you could sit here and say the deadline and people are going to be bidding like crazy and whatever, but what happens if he gets hurt? What happens if his numbers are down? His value is so high right now. So you run the risk of, selling yourself short there. So I think, to me, the Blue Jays, they should trade Vlad now if they can't get an extension done. We'll see. But Casas for Vlad, I see it because at least with the Blue Jays, then again, I take back what I said. Now that I've processed it, I think it comes down to because I want to see Casas for a full season. That's where I'm at. I think with me, because if you're the Blue Jays, if you're selling off a established piece like Vlad, I think you want to know you're going to get something established back, right? Yes, I like Casas, but he just needs to prove he can stay on the field, right? So if I'm the Blue Jays, that could be a bit of a question mark. Where do you end up just selling off everything else? I don't know. It's interesting. But Casas, in the end, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I just think unless something crazy happens here over the next month. But I do think in the end, they have been listening on him. Have they been shopping him? I don't think so. But have they been taking the phone calls and hearing ideas? Yes. That's my own opinion, though. I don't know that. But moving on here, just kind of wrapping up these other comments, no meeting with Roki Sasaki. There have been reports where Sasaki possibly, could take some more meetings after this first round of meetings that he's been having. I would have bagged, why not take the meeting? Why not? And that's with other teams too. It's like, why not just meet with all of them? I don't know. Unless he's heard something he doesn't like or whatever, or the Red Sox sent him, things or whatever, and maybe he just didn't like something. I don't know. But Sandoval, I actually like this today. Sandoval going to be coming back in the, expected to return. I guess I want to know when in the second half. Is it going to be early second half? That'd be great if you can get him back, right? But kind of getting to the, no more Bregman, right? When it comes to no more Bregman, right? Let's kind of get back to that. If Bregman is not going to be an option here, what other options are there, right? What else can the Red Sox do at this point? Well, I'm taking a look at this lineup, right? And, I'm seeing people out there today. I don't know what's going on here today. Like, all offseason, I've seen Red Sox fans say, we need a right-handed bat. I've been hearing that ever since day one. Reading that, everyone seems to be in agreement. And then all of a sudden today, I see some people out there say, no, I don't think we need a right-handed bat. I'm like, did I miss something? Did something happen that I'm unaware of? All of a sudden, we don't need a right-handed bat? What? I mean, yes, we need a right-handed bat. What? Like, what in the... Yes, of course we... I've seen people out there say, no, we'll be fine. No, we won't. We need a right-handed bat. You got Jaron Duran, Devers at the top. Cool. All right. Casas, fine. But I would like to break up the lefties right there. I would like to break up the lefties. I'm fine with Duran, Devers, 1-2. But in my opinion, I think you got to get a righty bat in the 3 spot. Casas, he could be the cleanup guy. That's just my opinion, right? Because then you run into the risk of, sure, Duran, Devers, Casas, can they handle the lefties? Yeah, sure. But I'd rather get a righty in there where that's going to break up the possible, lefty-lefty matchups where they come in for 3 outs. You want to get a righty in there. Sorry, that's just my opinion. I don't know if all of a sudden something happened and that's the wrong idea now, but that's me. I do not like having 3 lefties at the top of the lineup. I don't like it. I want a righty in the 3 spot. That's just me. But then let's say whatever. Let's say you got 1, 2, 3 as your lefties, okay? Honestly, in my opinion, I think Trevor Story probably ends up being the 3 guy, right? I think Correa in the end, Correa does not like having lefty, lefty, lefty like that. He just doesn't, right? So even righties, he likes to break it up. I think Story would end up being your 3 hitter in that spot, and Casas would end up being your 4, your cleanup guy. But then you also run into the risk too. But then if you do that, well, then you're going to have Casas, and let's say things stay the same, Yoshida and Abreu. Well, then you got Casas, Yoshida, and Abreu. You don't want that. So that's what I'm saying. Like, what are people talking about? Like, what are we doing? And you don't want Yoshida and Abreu back-to-back here. And I know you got Ref Snyder. I get it. But, like, you got Romy, but, like, no, you want a right-handed hitter, man. Like, that's what you want, because you don't want to be running into the risk of having these platoons and then bullpens start to work against you. You don't want that. You want a righty bat that can do damage against either, right? Because it gives your lineup more flexibility. Just in case bullpens, that's a thing. Bullpen strategy is a thing, right? Bringing in lefties in certain spots, righties in certain spots. You don't want that to work against you. You need a righty bat that can do both, do damage against righties and lefties, right? That's just me. I get it. You got Ref Snyder. You don't want to run into the risk of, losing the bullpen game, right? Because your lineup just gets shut down because of matchups. You don't want that. So, again, I will stick to my guns. Again, I don't know where this came from today. And no, I'm going to also say this. Listen, I love Tristan Campbell, all right? Love me some Tristan Campbell. He's great. I think he's going to be awesome. I would love for him to win a job out of opening day. I think that's possible. Right now, if this is how you went into spring training, I think it's possible Tristan Campbell could win a job. Right? He is highly regarded. The organization loves him. Right? Let's see. But right now, as we sit here, you can't count on Tristan Campbell. You just can't. Right? Yes, he's done great in the minor leagues. And I think he will do well at the major league level. But in the end, you gotta ease into it. Right? Sure, Jackson Merrill, different example, right? But he won the job. That's different. Like, going into that spring training, you weren't sure if Jackson Merrill on the Padres was going to, emerge the way he did. He had to win the job. That's what right now, I think you need to go into spring training knowing, that you have to have insurance at the end of the day. Tristan Campbell, Roman Anthony, those guys got to force their way into the lineup, right? They got to, show the Red Sox that they are the best option. Right now, obviously, we can't do that because we're not playing right now. So I think they need to go out there and get a right-handed bat. If it's not Alex Bregman, which I'm starting to think it's not, I just don't think right now it's responsible to say, okay, well, all right, no Alex Bregman. All right, go with Tristan Campbell. I don't think that's responsible until he wins the job. That's just me. Dilcor, what did Tyler Milliken just say? Tyler Milliken said something interesting. What did he say? That's interesting. So this is from Katie Wu. Let's see. What's the dealio? According to Katie Wu, the amount of interest the Red Sox and Yankees have in Nolan Arenado right now is unclear. The Cardinals are still reluctant to eat a large portion of Arenado's contract. Well, according to the report with the Astros and the Cardinals trade, the Cardinals are going to be eating around $15 million. So I don't know what the deal there is. I don't know. Interesting. The amount of interest the Red Sox and Yankees have in Nolan Arenado right now is unclear. I think they're just waiting for the Alex Bregman sweepstakes to be over. You know? I think just that's what teams are waiting for, that domino to fall. Because once Bregman goes, well, then you can figure out something with Arenado. Arenado's the fallback option. So he would be my first fallback option here. I would go Arenado. For me, if you're asking me, I actually did do a poll today. Where is my poll? I did a poll. I lost my poll. Okay, I can't find my poll. But I did a poll where I had Arenado, I had Taylor Ward, Carlos Correa, and Randall Grichuk on there. Had those options, right? Actually, here, I'll just pull it up. Let's go here. Here we go. So, this was the poll that I had here. So I said, if Alex Bregman isn't coming to the Red Sox, which right-handed hitter do you want? Over 1,100 votes. Right now, we are almost in a deadlock between Carlos Correa and Nolan Arenado, followed by Taylor Ward and Randall Grichuk. But I also put a couple of other options for you to like. I had Ha-Seong Kim, and I had Seiya Suzuki. Ha-Seong Kim actually got a lot of likes here, 89 likes. That's actually pretty decent. But to me, I think most people, it's very clear. Carlos Correa and Nolan Arenado are the two options. For me, it would be Arenado. I've talked about this at length many times. When you look at the whole package, the contract, there's only 3 more years left on it. I keep seeing this, and I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to keep saying it. Nolan Arenado, I think, would be a good fit at Fenway Park. All right. He has the swing for Fenway. He's a pull hitter. Wall ball. I think he'd literally be what Mike Lowell was. Go back to 2006. 2005, Mike Lowell was awful. I think Arenado would literally be that. I'm not kidding, right? I think he would find a way to figure it out at Fenway Park. That monster, I think, would work very well to his advantage. He's also hit very well at Fenway Park. Keep that in mind. Now, the other option, I threw in an interesting one there. Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa. This one's, I don't think this happens. I don't think it happens. However, there have been some reports this offseason that the Twins could be listening on some offers for Correa because they have TV revenue issues right now. And yeah, when you're lacking the revenue from TV, right, ads and whatnot, yeah, you're not going to be doing all that great when it comes to the financial side of things. Carlos Correa is getting a lot of money, over $30 million per year. He is an option where if you brought him in, you could play him at short. Trevor Story could play second, or you could put Correa at third, Rafi to DH if you somehow move Yoshida, right? So Correa, I think there's a couple of different spots he would fit. The only reason I don't think it's going to happen is because he's making too much money. Even though his contract, it's actually pretty good because this guy put up ridiculous numbers this year. 86 games, had a 4.3 F-WAR. This guy was on track for an 8.5 F-WAR for this year. That's extremely good. He was having a great season minus all the injuries. So I think Correa would be awesome, but I just don't think it's going to happen because he's getting paid too much money and there is the injury risk. I just feel like the Red Sox won't do it. Then again, we've seen crazier things. I feel like it's not going to happen, though, since they seem to be unwilling to spend money at this point. It would be pretty fun, though. I'm not going to lie. I'd be pretty jazzed up about that. Yeah, negative IQ. Twins won't trade Correa. I think they would also have to get a great return for that to happen because that is their star player. I could see teams out there willing to maybe take a shot. I also think the Red Sox, when you take a look at what they have, could you do a deal, sending back Willie or Abreu, something like that, or whatever it may be? Cutter Crawford even, Yeah, but I think more likely, if they do move someone, it'll be Pablo Lopez. That's just the way I see it. Now, had a couple other options. Taylor Ward, yeah, he's been making the rounds. in Red Sox land. I see a lot of people out there saying, oh, Taylor Ward, he would mash at Fenway. I'd be okay with it. I'd be fine with it. But really, he can play right field. He's more of a left fielder at this point. Really, but if you bring in Ward here, he is better against lefties. So you would essentially, I don't want to say Ward is really, when you take a look at his splits, he mashes lefties, man. He's so good against lefties, right? Hit 325 against lefties this year, 226 against righties. And then when you take a look at the WRC plus, he was still right around league average against righties, but a 146 against lefties. So I still think you would, even if you brought him in, it wouldn't be a straight platoon, in my opinion. I feel like at that point, if you bring him in, I think if you bring him in, it's going to be probably Seti ends up getting moved to a utility role, like a super utility role where he's getting in the lineup every day. And depending on, or just he's not going to play, the same position every day. I think he'll find a way to get, or you just put him at second base. I could see that. That's probably the more, actually, now that I think about it, that's probably the more realistic scenario where, and then all of a sudden you get the matchups you can play with, right? Ward, again, is good against lefties. So however that shakes out in some days, Seti could maybe go out to the outfield, whatever it may be. Ward, I would be okay with it. When I first heard the idea weeks ago, that was because, we were involved in the Juan Soto sweepstakes. And I was thinking, dude, I can't mentally go from Juan Soto to Taylor Ward. I couldn't do it at the time. But then when I processed it a little bit more, I was like, okay, I could see it. But again, going from Soto to Ward, I did not like that at the time. I'd be fine with it if it happened. Sai Suzuki, I don't know, man. Let me take that back. I like Sai. I do. I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like this doesn't happen. Maybe it does. He's got a couple more years left on that deal. Maybe. I would not mind it at all. I just wonder, will the Cubs move him? I know he wants to play outfield. I know there's that. So we'll see how it shakes out. I would like Sai Suzuki. I just wonder, will the Cubs actually end up moving him? I don't know. Randall Grichuk. It's kind of the same thing as Taylor Ward. Ward can go up against righties and he'll do enough, right? But Randall Grichuk is purely like you're only putting him in against lefties. Pretty much at that point. When you take a look at the splits with him, I mean, 319 against lefties, 242 against the righties. Actually, let's look at the WRC. Oh, actually, hold on a second. I take that back a little bit. I'm more so mentioning this past year. But when you look at the career numbers with Randall Grichuk, I mean, when you go back, 2023, 22, 21, kind of like, okay, right? But then this year, though, he really did some things, and yeah, this guy mashed a little bit. He would be the cheaper Taylor Ward, really, but he's older. He's going to be turning 34 this year, or 2025, sorry. Would I hate it? No, but at the same time, you already have Rob Refsnyder. You already have Romy Gonzalez. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like, how many platoons are we going to keep doing here? I don't see it. I just feel like, at least with Ward, he does have a better track record than Grichuk. So you'd feel a little more confident there. With Grichuk, really, it was just, you're only going off basically this past year. If you look at the career splits, he's been all right against righties. I don't know, man. It's just 93 on the WRC plus against righties in his career. I don't know. I'd be okay with it if it did happen. I mean, I'd be underwhelmed. I feel like I would get a little more jazzed up for Ward because at least he kind of comes with more power there. But yeah, Grichuk, if that happened, I don't know. Just not really for it. I see someone in the chat, Luis Robert. Luis Robert's interesting. I just think with him, there's too many injuries. I think for the Red Sox right now, I just think with the Red Sox, it's too many injuries. I just don't see why they would take a chance on it at this point. I think they want someone dependable in there. You know, that's kind of the way I see it. I think a team out there, like a small market team, would rather take that risk. You know, teams that are having trouble offensively, like the Reds and the Pirates last year, I could see those teams being more of a fit because he is on a team-friendly deal, and they're looking for offense any way they can. So I could see one of those two teams maybe doing something, you know, maybe even like I don't know, probably not the Dodgers at this point because Teoscar Hernandez is back there. If he didn't go back, he could have been an option. I don't know, maybe the Red Sox. You know, at one point, I was thinking about a possible package of Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert. But, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that's not going to happen. But those are the fallback options when it comes to righties. Now, there is Anthony Santander. He's not a righty. He's a switch hitter. He's going to do more lefty, right? And yes, I know, and I'm still going to keep bringing up that one comment that I've gotten a while back. Oh, well, Santander, of course he hit lefty more because there's more righties. Well, yes, but you want a righty bat, right, to fit Fenway Park more. Santander, if it happened, I mean, yeah, I would jump on here and react to it live, of course. You know, he's been a good player. I mean, obviously 44 home runs this past year, but something with Santander, I don't know, man. It's just felt weird because you want a righty bat. I get it. He's a switch hitter. I think Correa would like that versatility a little bit. And it just feels weird. I want that righty. You know, he would be a lefty at Fenway Park that would be able to clear the bullpen and whatnot. He'd have the power for there. But, you know, I don't know. It just feels like an awkward fit. I don't really like the plate discipline very much. He doesn't really strike out a whole ton. He just doesn't really get on base. He's very, you know, I don't want to say home run or, you know, nothing, but it feels like you're almost trending that way. His ex-WOBA, his expected weighted on base, it's not very high. I do worry about Santander in a few years. I feel like it could be pretty fun for a year or two, but I think that would end up being kind of a frustrating deal. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, Dilcor, I see you. You know, could you maybe something like, you know, Kyle Schwarber? The difference with Kyle Schwarber is he was an on-base machine. That's the difference with Schwarber, right? The power, it's very, you know, you could look at those two, and that's similar, right? That's what I mean, where you have the lefty power for Fenway Park. That's the power that you need. But the difference with Schwarber, I mean, he's an on-base menace, a 366 on base this past year. In his career, he's at a 343 on base. So that's the difference with me. With Santander, he just doesn't work the strike zone like Schwarber does. If it ends up happening, I don't know, but we haven't really seen anything with the Red Sox as of late. It's been the Blue Jays. It's been the Angels. The Tigers have popped up as a possible fallback option there. I don't know. I just feel like the Red Sox, I think at the end of the day, that was more kicking tires than anything. I see you in the chat, KMD, Adolis Garcia. You know, maybe. Not a good year this past year from an overall point of view. He hit 25 home runs, but low on base percentage. The slugging overall was not very good. He was a negative wins above replacement this past year. He has a good arm out in the outfield, but you know, I don't know. He just had a bad year this year. I don't know if he was just dealing with some kind of a nagging injury or something, but he was very good back in that World Series run. Great year, but I don't know. Something was off. Like his on base went down, his slugging went down, his WRC plus went down. You know, I don't know. That's just me. I think now that I think about it, the knee, that was something that was nagging him a little bit this year. You know, maybe he pop up, possibly. We'll see. But really, I think in the end, I do think Arenado ends up being, I think out of all these guys, I would say if you were to ask me to rank them, I would say Arenado, Grichuk. Maybe I'll actually go Ward. Remember, the Red Sox and the Angels did just make a trade at the deadline. All right, so they do have that bit of a working relationship here when it comes to trades. So I'd probably say Arenado, Ward, and then Grichuk. Also, I forgot to say Ha-Seong Kim. Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to mention Ha-Seong Kim. Here's my feeling on Ha-Seong Kim. I think he would be a fan favorite. I think people would love him. I really like Ha-Seong Kim. I do. He's not going to be the power bat, but I think he could use the monster. I think he would be more of a fun hitter, right? He's not going to be that game changer in a lineup. He can do some things. He'll work the count. He'll get on base for you. He'll give you speed. He'll be good defense. He would be the second baseman when he does come back. I'm worried about his throwing shoulder. That's the shoulder he got surgery on. I worry about his throwing shoulder. I think second base is probably the most realistic at this point, but that works for the Red Sox. For me, I do want someone that is going to come in and give you a bit more power. He would improve the defense. If it ends up happening, if they do end up bringing him in, I would be okay with it because I just like the player as a whole. I think he brings a lot to the table. He's very underrated, in my opinion. But again, you're not even going to have him for the first day of the year. He doesn't bring that established power. That's kind of where I'm at with Ha-Seong Kim. I wouldn't hate it at all. I think he'd be a fun player in Boston. But I think for what they need, I think they need just that established middle of the order right-handed bat. And I know people are going to probably come into the comments and be like, oh, well, you like Nolan Arenado. Again, I think Arenado could give you a similar profile to Mike Lowell when he came over. So, and I think, Mike Lowell, for the most part, I think he batted fifth in those lineups. I think he batted fourth some days, maybe even third. Right? That's how I see Arenado, right? We'll see. But everyone, I'm going to get out of here. If you couldn't tell, I'm tired. Like, I feel like I was just dragging along here tonight. I'm so tired. I worked on a video all day today that I posted on the main channel, but I knew I had to come on tonight. I probably could have had a cup of coffee, but yeah, what can you do? What can you do? Yeah, I'm a sleepy boy right now. I need to go get some shut eye. But everyone, I appreciate you all coming out tonight. We had right around 200 people for the entire show. Do appreciate that. If you can, hit that like button for me. We're at 61 likes right now. If we can get to 100 by the time we're done here, that would be amazing. But awesome conversation, everyone. Do appreciate you putting up with my potato brain here tonight. But also, it is New Year's Eve tomorrow. Please be safe tomorrow night, whatever it is you're doing. If you're going anywhere, setting off fireworks, whatever it may be, going out, whatever, please be safe. If any adults here in the chat, if you are going to go out, have a couple of drink skis, and please get an Uber on the way home, okay? Don't be doing none of that driving after sipping on all your little drinky drinks. Don't be doing that. Uber, please, if that's what it has to be. But everyone, have yourself a good New Year's Eve. Probably won't be here tomorrow unless something happens. I mean, who knows? We'll see. But I'm expecting to be back 2025. Kind of weird saying that, not going to lie. But everyone, go have yourself a great night. If I don't see you tomorrow, Happy New Year. And looking forward to a very fun 2025. Have a good night, everybody. I'll talk to you next time.